Okay. Hello, this is Mike Swanson of the Past American Century. I'm here for a very special guest today. I'm speaking with Carmine Savastano. Carmine is the author of Two Princes and a King. How you doing today, Carmine?
I'm doing good, Mike. It's good to be back. How you been?
Oh, I'm doing great. Oh, I should also mention your two websites. The easiest one to go to, I guess, is tpac.com.
hmm
And then Neapolis Media Group. People can look that up in
Well, they're
Google.
both in one now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I consolidated because people were telling me that, they didn't want to have to go to two different websites. So,
Oh, okay. Well, there we go.
I consolidated. So now you can find NeMG. You'll see a Neapolis Media Group listed as one of the choices. So there's a page there, and yeah, everything's all consolidated now to Two Princes and a King, which I think I'm just going to have as a storehouse, just not only for my stuff, but for information, upcoming books too. So check back later, and I'm working on a book right now that'll be available later this year. So.
Oh, great. Well, I wanted to talk with you now because
Mhm.
last week you did a show on the Ochelli Effect, and I'm going to link to it below this video, and also to supporting documents and an article on your website about what we're going to talk about. But you did a show, and Joan Mellon was a guest on it too, and so was Fred James and Steve Rowe. And one of the things y'all talked about was the Richard Case Nagell story, and you dug up some new documents about that story that really kind of shocked me, took me by surprise. If people don't know, Richard Case Nagell, he was a military officer in the 50s and 1960s and became a key figure of interest among people interested in the Kennedy assassination. There's a book written in 1992 that had a big impact on me, really influenced me, called The Man Who Knew Too Much by Dick Russell, and it focused on the Nagell story. And the Nagell story, the nutshell story, is that Jim Garrison got interested in him because he had some supposed connections to Oswald. And one thing Nagell did is a couple weeks before the assassination of President Kennedy, he went into a bank in Texas, walked in there, took a revolver out, and shot two shots into the roof, and then told people he's giving up and surrendered. And supposedly he told them that he wanted to get arrested, and it makes people think that he wanted to get arrested so he wouldn't be anywhere. He'd have a good alibi on November 22nd, wouldn't get any trouble when the assassination happened. Like, he knew something was coming down and created this shooting incident to put him in a spot where he wouldn't get in trouble. And then when he was arrested, on himself, he had identification of someone named Alec Heidel, which Oswald had too when he was arrested. So Nagell had all this. I learned from the Russell book weeks before the Kennedy assassination. So evidence of a direct connection, evidence of a conspiracy, you would think, just on the face of it. But then you found new information that's kind of made my head spin and thrown what I used to know for sure into doubt.
Well, yeah, Nagell has Nagel. I've heard it said both ways, so please forgive us if it varies.
You say it one
Anyway,
way, I'll say it the other. We'll switch
exactly.
it around.
Tomato. So yeah, he's been a figure of interest, like you said, to many in the JFK case because of his claims and because of the people who advocated for him. And he is definitely a peripheral character of interest, but some people feel him to be important. And the story was inspired by media and literature since he gained Garrison's attention in New Orleans, and then just so they have a little understanding, the listeners have a little understanding about him. He was born in August 5th, 1930. He eventually joined the U.S. Army when he was 18. He served in the Korean War, highly decorated. He got lots of military distinctions for bravery. In 48, he's a promising rising star in his division. He subsequently continues his service uninterrupted and attends Army Intelligence School until 1954 when he's in a deadly plane crash that kills everyone except for him. He's the only survivor and becomes increasingly mentally unstable and is deformed by the disaster. So, yet despite these setbacks, he recovers physically. He graduates from the Army Intelligence School the next year. Nagell's associate, Lieutenant Colonel Ned W. Glenn, told officials that he had observed Nagell become less stable as time went on. By 1959, he's honorably discharged. He gets a job with the state of California's Alcoholic Beverage Division. And then things start to go wrong in his domestic life. His wife leaves him, abandons him, takes their child overseas, and does not return or communicate with him. During following interviews, he would demand to see his family. Officials, no matter where they were from, whether it was normal or not, whether he was at an embassy or elsewhere, he would demand to see his family. He claimed they had been abducted, and perhaps he even genuinely believed it, but these were delusions. This isn't the truth of what was actually going on. With his family gone, his prospects shrinking, he's living alone. He gets fired by the state of California in the summer of 1962. So that's where he is mentally and where he is emotionally about a year before the things that happen that will make him famous and put into books. And to me, it seems like he became more desperate. And he's got no income now. So a month later, he tries to engage in a criminal meeting and gets shot in the chest.
Wow, what was that? What was the meeting about?
We don't know. He wouldn't tell the police anything. He wouldn't tell who was there. He wouldn't say what it was over. But I can only speculate that, he's got no job. It's been a month. He's got no money. He's basically living in his car. He's got nowhere to stay. So he needed to commit a crime to get some money.
Mm.
And apparently he did it with, if you're going to deal with criminals, you're going to deal with untrustworthy people. And one of them shot him in the chest. But he wouldn't tell the police anything about it. And then when the police tried to force him because they wanted to find out, because they didn't want somebody out there shooting people, he tried to sue them for violating his civil rights, and everything just got dismissed.
Mm.
And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's just, but what gets me about the information you found is you've got the police report of the bank robbery attempt that he committed, and it's a different story from what I understood had happened.
Well, from what I hear, like when I told you to talk to Chuck Ochelli about it, it's pretty much from what most people understood what happened, based on how like a lot of stories that we've talked about, they evolve over time. And this particular document, I've said before, and I'll say again, I'd like to thank Steve Rowe, who sent it to me. He had seen that I dug into Nagell before, and as you and I discussed prior, I've never supported Nagell. I've always thought there were problems with the story. I found some problems with the story a couple of years ago when I dug into him the first time. And, he just wasn't important to me, so I set him to the side until something else of interest came up. So Steve found a file and sent it to me to dissect, and I did, and it's very interesting how different Rich's story is.
Well, I never thought of him as the Rosetta Stone, like the bank robbery story proves that it's a conspiracy in the Kennedy assassination. It suggests it, but I don't need it to prove it's that I believe there's plenty of reasons to believe there's more than one gunman in the Kennedy assassination.
Oh, exactly. And
so I don't need the Nagell story to convince me of that, but some people treat it as the Rosetta Stone or some definitive thing. And there are some, we'd be spending here all night if we went through other of these stories, but it was certainly a believable story to me. The guy was arrested in September 1963, almost over 2 months before the assassination, and it would make sense if he knows something's coming down and he wants to have a solid alibi. Why not get arrested?
Yeah, and I think that's the first problem with the original story is if you look in some of the latest versions, I will say there are some people who use the accurate date, but a lot of times it gets morphed into weeks. That is what people have been told and what appears in online accounts. And when you make it months, it becomes harder to believe. Because, really, months? I mean, how ahead of time are you telegraphing this?
Well, it was in September, right?
Yeah, and the assassination didn't happen until November 22nd. So I'm just
So,
saying the longer amount of time before,
yeah,
the
right.
less likely.
Yeah, we're
Because,
speaking 2 full months then,
yeah, why would
basically.
you be desperate? But, that's just anecdotal. That doesn't prove anything. That's just. Anyway, um, so like you were saying, yeah, so, as we put him now more in context, his family's gone, he's desperate, he has no money, he's got shot in the chest. He, in 62, he decides to go to the American and communist embassies in
Yeah,
Mexico.
actually, now I think about it, Oswald didn't get a job at the Texas School Book Depository till October.
Yeah,
So this happened a month, almost a month,
before.
well, almost a month before, yeah. Before.
But it's also why they say he somehow knew that he helped him.
Oh,
Uh, uh,
yeah,
you
I
know.
forgot.
Don't let facts get in the way. Um, so so yeah. But once again, he does things before Oswald does, and I can understand. Like, I don't blame most people for believing what they were told because it seemed like it was reliable evidence at the time, and it was supposed to be coming from someone that had done the due diligence and found everything and wasn't going to make an assumption, but assumptions were made. For instance, like the similarities. Nagell goes to Mexico in 62. He visits embassies that Oswald would visit in 63. People, of course, assume that means there's a connection to them. That doesn't. That just means that Nagell was more desperate. He decided that he was going to get at his proverbial enemies, who at the time he thought was the American government. He told, later when he got arrested, we can go into that more, but he told his cellmate that he went to join the Communist Party to get back at how badly he had been treated by the American government. So it doesn't take all of these nefarious things to get him to do what he was doing. He was growing less and less mentally stable. And he did have knowledge of intelligence, so he did have the ability to go to these embassies. He knew certain protocols that he could do, but he also at the same time wanted, like, he tried to get the embassy in Mexico to pay him the money that the Alcoholic Beverage Commission supposedly owed him for back pay.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he needed the money bad then.
Yeah. But how ridiculous is that? You'd have to be crazy to think that you could go to another country, to our embassy, and make a demand on behalf of the domestic government. Do you really think the U.S. government's going to send you your check to another country and give it to you, or are they going to make you come back and prove it?
Well, I don't know what that means. He's not totally planning things out well, I guess.
Well, yeah,
He's not very rational about it.
Exactly. I think he was becoming more and more irrational the more agitated he got, which makes sense. And with Nagell, as were a lot of people who get attached to myths or are, the people who myths are founded upon, I usually don't really, I harbor anger at them for wasting all of our time. With Nagell, he was kind of crazy. So with him, I think there's a sympathy. I have some sympathy for him.
Well, you said he was in a plane crash or helicopter crash, right?
Yeah, he was in a plane crash and he was the only survivor, and he got disfigured by it.
Maybe that had an impact on his mental condition.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
And then that, like I said, and then you get all those domestic problems. You lose your kid, you lose your job, you get shot, you're living in your car, you're desperate. So you rob a bank. I'm not saying that makes rational sense. I'm saying I understand how he got to where he got. It doesn't take having some sort of special intelligence knowledge to get him to that bank.
Now, I'm going to link to the police report, but could you tell people
Sure.
what's in there?
Yeah.
Because it is pretty amazing. It's much different from the story I thought happened.
Okay, so yet, unlike Oswald, Nagell is not under the apparent thumb of intelligence or games that are being played, but he's a desperate man seeking whatever assistance he could obtain to see his family receive money and punish his perceived enemies. His prospects were slim. He's broken, shot and jailed, dismissed by officials, The mental destabilization is rendering him more and more desperate. So he enters the Kennedy case because of his actions in the city of El Paso in September in 1963. Alternate versions claimed, as Mike said, Nagell entered the bank, fired a couple shots, calmly walked out, awaited arrest. The allegation states when Nagell was captured with his military intelligence background, he had CIA employee names in his possessions, and other suspicious information believed connected him to the CIA and to Lee Harvey Oswald. Books and reports said that Nagell was perhaps a controlled agent, like a Manchurian candidate, and decided at the 11th hour to abort his connections to the assassination by staging a robbery to get arrested. An additional photograph to try to back this up is what Mike said earlier, where they said they found an ID that was a match of Alec Heidel, one of Oswald's, and a photograph came out later of unknown origin that had these two supposed identifications next to each other. Now, if all that were true, it would be a compelling story, and has been compelling to many in the years since. But important parts are not true. An article that Mike is going to link to this, I state, quote, unknown to many was the presence of police officer Jay Bundren, assigned to guard the Treasury Department currency display in the West Lobby, and this might have been among the targets attracting Nagell. Following the sound of shots in the East Lobby, the officer rushed to the area where he learned Nagell had fled, running out the side door. Now, we begin to diverge from the story as told. And the story is told, Nagell shoots twice, calmly walks outside. In reality, he runs. Okay. Eyewitness Hamilton Collins and Patsy Gordon observed Nagell flee the bank, and John Grissom, located outside, watched Nagell run down the street toward his escape vehicle. The police officer, quote, runs out the door of the bank, chasing the subject to the corner of Oregon and Overland, and then west on Overland, and Nagell's trail leads to a local alleyway. Nagell has already gotten in his car. He is coming out driving. He is trying to escape into traffic, and he encounters the police officer. The officer points his gun at him, and Nagell says, quote, all right, I give up. After some questioning, Nagell is taken into custody, his vehicle is impounded, and he seemingly later created his associations to the Kennedy assassination long after this.
Like years later.
Well, yeah, in court, originally he wouldn't even tell the judge why he did it, and that's why people tried to say it was suspicious. But it was because he was trying to think of an excuse. It was because he was mentally unstable.
Yeah.
He might not have even known why he did it. Another, sad thing about it is that he tried to commit suicide 3 times on his transfer from to prison.
Mm.
So this is not a rational man. This is not someone This is not someone who had all this specific knowledge. Now, since we have offered, the evidence.
Well, the thing about the story that really got me, just or the document you found, which is the police report of the robbery and the arrest.
Yeah.
The officer's account, and it includes him talking to the witnesses. That the girl at the teller, mm-hmm. He didn't shoot the gun up in the ceiling.
No, he shot it at the...
But he shot it and scared her half to death. He shot it like right behind her, at a wall behind her, and scared the woman half to death. So. Well,
I think he got agitated and fired. He's lucky he didn't hit somebody, because then he
Yeah.
Yeah. But he fired at the cage. He fired high, and it hit near the ceiling, but he still fired it into the cage where the people were.
That's really serious, because, look, where I live, there have been a few robberies, bank robberies, over the years, and in not one instance did anyone actually shoot one of these weapons. So, if you discharge a gun, that's even worse than just going in there and scaring people with it.
If they had been,
it's kind of serious, And so he's not just a robber, but an unstable robber.
Yeah, well, and if he would have encountered, a hard case cop, they would have charged him with attempted murder too.
Or shot him.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, he's lucky Bundren didn't shoot him. It's because he gave up. But that is totally not what we've been told. And since now the main premise is undercut by the evidence, I think we can go into, as I said, following his arrest, they found those military papers that people like to put a lot of stock into.
So what did you find out about that?
Well, he did have some items from his intelligence career. He did have some actual classified information that he shouldn't have had, that he probably kept from his time before, or he had acquired through the channels or contacts that he still possessed from military intelligence. But it doesn't have to be nefarious how he got a hold of this stuff. He would have had access to this information or known how to get it illegally if he really wanted it. So it could have been for contacts. Maybe he was trying to make money somehow, beg them to give him a job. Who knows why exactly he had it. But he did have prior access to classified information, so it's not outside the realm of possibility he had these things. Now, the big question is do any of these names have something to do with the Kennedy case? That I've seen, no. They're just 6 different CIA people. They could have been his contacts. We don't know exactly who they are. We do know they were employees at the time, but that has been inferred by some to mean something greater, which it does not. Now, another issue is the ID. Now, it was determined that this supposed ID that some people would later try to link to Alec Heidel, which was Oswald's alias, was actually listed in the original. So that photograph that floats around out there is not the original. It's altered. But the original ID that Nagell had on him said Albert Hiddle, H-I-D-E-L, and it was Albert, not Alec. Now, though those names are similar, they're totally different.
Yeah, they're not the same.
Yeah. So he has no connection to Oswald. This has all been assumed over time with the evolution of things. And here we are. There's still people quoting this stuff in books as recent as last year.
Well, it's it's just kind of mind-boggling,
Yeah.
It's
unfortunately the telephone.
No. What's mind-boggling about it is, look, I read that the Man Who Knew Too Much a long time ago, and it's a very well written book, and it does have, it's not just about the Nagell story. There's lots of other interesting and good information in there, but it's not simply this one book came out with the story.
No. Yeah, I know. I think this all started with the Garrison case, with people speculating on Garrison thought.
The thing about it is no one has really doubted it. Everyone, this is the first time I've really seen evidence that disputes it. That's pretty definitive, and everyone has seemed to me to support the story.
Yeah.
It's like just commonly believed. And, you just don't think nothing about it. I heard it and thought, oh yeah, that sounds, it's one of these things. There's so many crazy stories, I guess, about are connected to the Kennedy assassination that it's like another one, and why not believe it? There's so many others.
I'm trying to go for the highest myths on the tree. I'll go for the overhanging fruit later.
But, in a certain sense, that's kind of, if we want to know what really happened, that's kind of what we have to do. We have to go back and figure out what is worth continuing to follow up on and what isn't. Or we're just wasting our time, or we're not going to get anywhere. We're just not only wasting our time, but other people's time. And we have to go back and eliminate what really isn't useful information, even if it's been trumpeted by just about everybody.
Yep. It doesn't matter. I said this way back when I had some conversations with much better known authors. And I told them that seniority doesn't mean a thing. Evidence does. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. It doesn't matter how many times you've said it. If you can't prove it, it's irrelevant. And I know that the people don't want to hear that in some cases, but it's the truth. We need to do this like scientific method. You go back, you recheck. If it's wrong, you get rid of it. Otherwise, why? Why are we wasting our time on things that have no evidentiary value? Some people, and I think that comes to also the motivation of some people. Some people don't ever want this to end. I do. And I think you do, Mike, and I think there are other people, a lot of people out there like us who do want to find an answer one day and want there to be a final answer, that this is where most of the evidence leads, so this is the best idea we have. And we can always, augment that with new evidence and incorporate the new ideas that come in that are reliable, but like you said, to get there, that means we got a lot of axing to do.
Well,
There
we've got
are a
all those,
lot of
you
bad
know,
stories that
oh
need to
yeah.
go.
Well, there's so many bad stories, and we got the files that people are rolling out that have just come out recently in the past 2 years that people are now just touching the surface of, really, and haven't, as I was talking to you before the show started, but, that so far the only person who's used the new documents in books is John Newman. So there's only one author that's put anything in book form using the new files. So things are just starting, but the surface has only been scratched.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad to see though that people are following Dr. Newman's example and other people's. Hopefully, people told me, who do I think I am? I said I think I'm a sergeant in a very large army
Yeah,
of
well, we
people that
got
are all marching forward, trying to
that's
promote
right.
evidence to the case. That's who I
Well,
think.
and hopefully, I know myself if I, gonna really dig into the Kennedy assassination now, I won't waste time on this Nagel story. It will.
Yeah.
So,
And I
and
feel
other,
bad. I really do. I feel bad for people that, not just with Nagell, but all the myths. Think of all the time
yeah,
and money and effort that has been wasted on bad ideas and stories that somebody once thought were important. And, that's why you can't just assume. And I tell people, even with me or you or anybody, always double check. If
well,
something stands out to you that seems to be hard to believe, it just might be.
that's why one reason I like talking with you about this, because you do look at the files and the research, and we can do a show like this, and I can link to it so people can see for themselves,
Mhm.
what that says, what it is we're getting this from, and and they can
Yeah,
see it
yeah.
for themselves. I
Don't
mean,
take our word for it. Check the evidence.
I did a video, about the stock market stuff. I think last 2 weeks ago, and I don't know. Now I'm getting off topic, but anyway, I was following people on YouTube or watching people on YouTube talk about the stock market, and they were making these crazy claims that it went down because the deep state is trying to destroy it last year, and now it's going up because Trump has people buying it. And it's just ridiculous. And I just say,
Sounds like some
don't
crop circles.
believe something like that,
Yeah, yeah.
unless people have some proof. And nowadays on the internet, there's so many people that make videos and make claims about all sorts of things without a shred of anything backing up what they're saying. It's just on every topic, and we can give people the darn link so they can see the evidence, and hopefully that will encourage people to think, well, I need evidence when I hear someone speaking about the Kennedy assassination or anything else, but the Kennedy assassination in particular, because there's so many people, or not, I should stop saying so many, but there are some people who just make the most
Large number, yes.
the most outrageous claims with not anything backing them up, and you just got to be very careful to believe something like that, because if you can believe someone like that, then you can believe just about anything.
Well, and people have to realize that the easiest way that someone is going to try, and it's with any, whenever I've seen, reports in newspapers of criminal frauds or any of the psychological studies I've read when I've been looking into assassination and stuff, people will attack you emotionally. That's how they're going to come at you. They don't want, because if they come at you rationally, a lot of people aren't going to be interested. Unfortunately, rationality isn't always the best way to get people's attention. The best way, unfortunately, to get people's attention is through emotion and getting them excited or getting them angry or making them feel good is to get that emotive response. That's what a lot of these people are looking for. And if someone does that, they're not looking to inform you. They want you to feel a certain way so that you will do what they want, whether that's support them or fund them or whatever their motivation might be. If they want to come at you rationally, that's, in my opinion, more trustworthy because they're saying, this is what I think, here's some evidence, you have a look at it, we might not disagree, but I think we can all agree what is plainly before us in the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So
And go from there.
yeah.
Well, I'll let you go. I've been talking for a while, but thanks for taking the time to find this and come on here and share it with the people on my YouTube channel.
Well, no, I appreciate you having me back, Mike. And like I said, I couldn't get this done without people like you, and people like Steve Rowe, and it's definitely a collaborative effort. I'm glad to offer the information, and we'll keep digging. Some people will like it, some people won't. C'est la vie.
And for those that do, get your book, Two Princes and a King.
Yeah, they can go to tpac.com, tpaak.com.